Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirectTV.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
They put this forward in an aggressive and fast-paced way. And now they're saying, now we need witnesses. After 31 or 32 times you said you proved every aspect of your case. That's what you said. Well, you didn't. You said he just said he did. Well, then I don't think we need any witnesses.
That is the sickest descent into madness I have ever heard in my life. The House of Representatives indicted the president. And now the defense for the president is saying, so you indicted him, now have a trial without witnesses. Because you indicted him, you should have a trial without witnesses. Does anybody think that that makes any sense in our American system of justice? So let's say you're indicted for something. Doesn't matter what it is. And the attorney general of your state, he indicts you for whatever. And now you're on trial. And the position of the state is that you should be put on trial without any witnesses or documents. What the?
Yes, we are a more than fallible democracy. And we don't always live up to our ideals. But when we have a president who demonstrates corruption of his office, who sacrifices the national interest for his personal interest, unlike other countries, there's a remedy. And so, yes, we don't always live up to our ideals, but this trial is part of our constitutional heritage, that we were given a power to impeach the president. I don't think a trial without witnesses reflects adversely on the Chief Justice. I do think it reflects adversely on us. I think it diminishes the power of this example to the rest of the world. If we cannot have a fair trial in the face of this kind of presidential misconduct. This is the remedy. This is the remedy for presidential abuse. But it does not reflect well on any of us if we are afraid of what the evidence holds. If this will be the first trial in America where the defendant says at the beginning of the trial, if the prosecution case is so good, why don't they prove it without any witnesses?
Really?
That's not a model we can hold up with pride to the rest of the world. And yes, Senator, I think that will feed cynicism about this institution, that we may disagree on the president's conduct or not, but we can't even get a fair trial. We can't even get a fair shake for the American people. We can't, oh my God, we can't hear what John Bolton has to say. God forbid we should hear what a relevant witness has to say. Hear no evil. That cannot reflect well on any of us.
It doesn't, and it will be used as precedent against you in the future. That trials now in the United States of America that are supposed to happen after an indictment can be held without witnesses. Did you want to set that precedent? Because that is what is going to happen at the end of today. Maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe they'll do it under the cover of darkness. Maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. But it's going to happen. And the reason why they don't want to hear from witnesses is because the president is guilty. The reason why they don't want to call John Bolton is because as this trial has been, attempting to get underway. Remember, the trial isn't even underway. No witnesses have come to testify. No documents have been admitted. Nothing has happened that would look like, sound like, smell like, taste like, be like a trial. Nothing. They're debating whether or not to have witnesses. That's all that has happened, is a debate about whether or not a trial is supposed to have documents and witnesses admitted, relevant documents, relevant witnesses, witnesses that could go and show the president is innocent. Why not? Or witnesses that could testify that the president pressured Ukraine to give him dirt on his political opponent against the interests of the national security of the United States, which is what Bolton would testify to. It is whatever. And you know what's really creepy? Each and every day since Sunday, the New York Times has been releasing more and more and more of John Bolton's manuscript. And today, while the Democrats were making an argument for witnesses, they released yet more of John Bolton's book. This is previously undisclosed, but it is categorically true. Mr. Bolton, John Bolton, there's plenty to say about his silence here, but Bolton described in his book a 10-minute conversation that happened in the Oval Office in May. Now, you know, they all say, oh, this is all about a phone call. That phone call was July 25th, right? July 26th is when Donald Trump calls Ambassador Sondland and says to him, I only care about the big stuff, and the big stuff isn't the war in Ukraine. The big stuff is I want that dirt on the Bidens. And that was the day after the call. But the day of the call is July 25th, and the Republicans have been saying it's all about a phone call. No, this happened in May, early May. In early May, there was a meeting in the Oval Office. That meeting included Rudy Giuliani, Mick Mulvaney, and John Bolton and the President of the United States. And in that meeting, Trump was fixated on getting this dirt on Ukraine, from Ukraine on Biden, because that is when Biden announced for president. And back then, in May, Biden was leading in the polls. And Bolton laid out Trump's fixation on these conspiracy theories that Ukraine tried to undermine his chances of winning, that Ukraine had hacked into the DNC for some reason. I mean, he makes no sense. And so Bolton started to object to these debunked conspiracy theories, as did, David Bossie. I mean, not David Bossie. What was that guy's name? Remember, he said that they kept trying to disabuse the president of these conspiracy. Well, they couldn't do it. Anyway, this is when apparently Bolton told Fiona Hill that Rudy Giuliani was a hand grenade that was going to blow everybody up. He repeatedly, in this book, Bolton says that Trump repeatedly made national security decisions that were contrary to American national security interests. And that he was granting all these crazy favors to autocrats like Erdogan in Turkey and Xi in China and Putin and all of them. And this is early freaking May. Rudy Giuliani had just been successful in smearing Marie Yovanovitch with his clients. His clients, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. And now Donald Trump was targeting somebody else. Now Donald Trump was going after George Kent. You remember George Kent? He was a key witness in the House manager's case. George Kent, who was like, he was like Lieutenant Dan. That's how I explain him to you. Remember Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump? And Lieutenant Dan had always had a member of his family in the military since the Revolutionary War. He had a member of his family in the Revolutionary War. He had a member of his family in the Civil War. He had a member of his family in the Korean War. He had a member of his family in World War II. And now he had a member of his, Lieutenant Dan was in Vietnam, right? And it was a tradition. He was supposed to die on the battlefield. But instead, they blew his legs off, remember? And that's why he was so depressed. Well, so George Kent has that same history in his family. There has never been a Kent that isn't involved in the State Department or in public service to the United States in some diplomatic capacity. Well, in this meeting, Rudy Giuliani says, you got to get rid of George Kent. He knows everything. And he plants this conspiracy theory in Trump's head that George Kent is part of a Soros conspiracy. Turns out George Kent was not part of a Soros conspiracy. Neither was Marie Yovanovitch, but Giuliani succeeded. And George Kent actually testified, and he was a key witness, but they were going to smear him next.